Everyone expected Emily to marry a man with wealth, status, and power. After all, she came from one of the most respected families in town, the kind of family that measured worth in diamonds, not devotion. Her father was a successful real estate mogul, her mother a socialite with influence. And her siblings were either married into money or climbing their own golden ladders. So when Emily brought home Daniel quiet, soft-spoken, and working as a mechanic in a dusty roadside shop, the world around her practically erupted. People whispered. Her family protested. Her friends stared in disbelief. And the laughter. Oh, it echoed behind her back like a cruel soundtrack to her defiance. But Emily didn't care. She saw something in Daniel no one else did. Not his old car, not his worn shoes, and not his modest paycheck, but his heart. The way he treated people with kindness. The way he listened deeply. The way he looked at her like she was a miracle and not just another pretty face. She believed in him, even if no one else did. And that's when everything began to change. Before we jump into the rest of the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've ever believed in love that others didn't understand this, one's for you. Now, let's get into it. Emily had met Daniel at a gas station. It wasn't glamorous. Her BMW had overheated on the highway, and Daniel, wiping grease off his hands, offered help without hesitation. She had rolled her eyes at first, young, impatient, and used to calling roadside assistance. But there was something calming in the way he worked, gentle hands, a focused gaze, and not a word about money. She bought him coffee the next day to thank him. And then again, the next week. One coffee led to conversations, and conversations led to longer drives to nowhere. And somehow, slowly, she started skipping expensive dinners with suitors from her parents' parties just to sit in Daniel's garage. Watching him fix other people's cars and hum old songs. "I want to build something of my own one day," he said one evening, oil smudged across his cheek. "A place where people can come not just to fix their cars, but to feel safe, like a community." She looked at him like he'd just offered her the world to Emily. It wasn't about how much he made now. It was about how much heart he poured into everything he touched. So, when she told her parents she was in love, they were thrilled until she said Daniel's name. Dinner was awkward. Her mother set the table with their finest china. Thinking Emily had an announcement worth celebrating. Her father even opened his favorite bottle of wine. But as soon as she mentioned Daniel, their smiles cracked. Her sister choked on her drink. Her brother scoffed. "You're joking." Her mother said, lips twitching with disbelief. "The mechanic? I'm serious," Emily replied, her voice steady but soft. Her father stood up, jaw tight. "Emily, he's not your equal. He won't be able to keep up with your lifestyle, your future." "I don't want a lifestyle," she interrupted. "I want a life with him." The shouting match that followed could have rattled the chandeliers. They threatened to cut her off, told her he was using her, warned her of everything she would lose. But she didn't budge. Not when her mother cried. Not when her father slammed the door. Not even when her friends said she was being foolish. For the first time in her life, Emily chose not comfort but conviction. It was a small wedding, a rented garden, plastic chairs, and a handful of guests. Her parents didn't attend. Neither did her siblings. Just a few of Daniel's friends from the garage. A couple of old college friends of Emily's who actually believed in love. And the local pastor who agreed to marry them for free. Emily wore a simple dress she found on clearance. Daniel borrowed a suit from a friend. They exchanged vows under an arch decorated with flowers. Emily picked herself from a public garden, hoping no one would notice. It wasn't the wedding she dreamed of as a child, but it was real. When Daniel said "I do," he looked at her like she was a treasure, not a trophy. And Emily cried not because her parents weren't there, but because she finally felt seen. Their first apartment was a one-bedroom above a pawn shop. The windows rattled when trucks passed. The plumbing hissed at night. There was no elevator, but it was theirs. Daniel worked long hours fixing cars. Emily took a job as a waitress, determined to help pay rent and groceries. Gone were the spa days, the brunches, the silk sheets. But in their place were late-night talks, shared dreams, burnt pancakes, and second-hand furniture built together with laughter. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Some nights, Daniel would come home exhausted, grease under his fingernails and pain in his knees. Emily would rub his shoulders and remind him, one day it'll all pay off. He always smiled. As long as I have you, it already has. Life wasn't always kind. A few months in, Daniel's garage got broken into. Thousands in damage. The insurance barely covered anything. He was forced to borrow money just to keep the doors open. Emily's job cut her hours. Bills piled up. Tension grew, they argued. She cried. He almost gave up. I don't want to drag you down, he said one night, staring at the floor. Maybe they were right. Maybe you could have had so much more. She grabbed his hand. Don't you ever say that, she whispered. This is hard. Yes, but I didn't marry you for what you had. I married you for who you are. Daniel refused to quit. He took night shifts at another garage to pay off the debts. Emily picked up freelance gigs, cleaning houses and designing. Flyers online. Slowly, things began to shift. One evening, customer walked into the garage, an older man with a luxury car and a broken transmission. Daniel fixed it with care and refused to overcharge him. Impressed, the man returned the next week. Then he brought his business partners. Soon, word spread. Daniel wasn't just a good mechanic. He was honest, respectful, and different. Emily helped him build a website. She created a logo, ran social media accounts, and replied to inquiries in between WAITRESSING. Within a year, Daniel's humble garage was thriving. Not glamorous, but buzzing. And yet, her family still said nothing. Not a call, not a message. Just silence. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, Emily heard a knock at their apartment door. It was her sister, Claire. She stood there awkwardly, holding a designer umbrella, her expression unreadable. Behind her, a luxury car waited by the curb. Can I come in? Claire asked. Emily blinked. Of course. Claire walked in, looked around, and sat stiffly on their couch. You were right, she said. About him. Emily tilted her head. What do you mean? Claire pulled out her phone and showed her an article, one written about Daniel's garage. It had gone semi-viral. The title read, The Honest Mechanic Changing the Game. Didn't ask to be featured, Claire continued. Care continued, but people are talking, and Mom and Dad saw it. Emily's chest tightened. Care, she had waited years for this moment. Care, but somehow it didn't feel like victory. It felt like relief. They want to talk to you, Claire added. They just don't know how. Emily stood in her old home for the first time in 3 years. The chandeliers still sparkled, the marble floor still gleamed, but everything felt smaller now. Her parents were waiting in the living room. Her father looked older, her mother tired. No one spoke for a moment. Then her father cleared his throat. We were wrong. Emily's eyes welled. We let pride blind us, her mother added. You chose love, and we couldn't see past money. Can you forgive us? Emily didn't respond right away. She simply nodded, then turned to the doorway. Daniel. She said, come in. Daniel stepped into the room with quiet confidence. He wore no suit, no polished shoes, just the same calm presence he always had. Emily's father stiffened, unsure whether to offer a handshake. Daniel made the choice for him, stepping forward. And extending his hand, sir, he said plainly. Her father hesitated, then shook it, firm, respectful, but still hesitant. We were hard on you, her mother admitted. Too hard, I understand, Daniel replied. You were protecting your daughter. Silence followed, heavy with guilt and things unsaid. Emily broke it with a small smile. But you didn't have to protect me from love. The visit was awkward at first. Her parents tried, in their own quiet way, to make peace. Her mother complimented the photos on the wall pictures of Daniel and Emily working together in the garage. Vacations taken with saved pennies, celebrations with makeshift cakes and thrift store decorations. Her father asked about the business. Daniel explained, not boastfully, just clearly, that they now had 3 employees, regular clients, and even a local partnership with a car dealership for referrals. Emily watched her. Father's eyes widened ever so slightly, not because of the success, but because Daniel had built it all from nothing. Would you ever consider investing? Her father asked, cautiously. Daniel's response was simple. No, thank you. We built this together. We want to keep it that way. Emily looked at him with pride. That night, as they lay in bed, she whispered, "You didn't need to prove anything to them." "I didn't," he said. "I just proved it to myself." Time moved forward. Daniel's business grew steadily. He didn't build an empire. He didn't become a millionaire. But he became something far more rare, respected, known, trusted. Emily pursued her own path, launching a small online store that sold handmade home decor items she once crafted. For their apartment now became products loved by thousands. Together, they created not just income, but a life. They bought a small home on the edge of town, a garden in the back, a porch with 2 rocking chairs, and eventually the soft cries of a newborn added warmth to every room. Emily's parents became regular visitors. Her mother brought soup when the baby was sick. Her father helped build a sandbox in the yard, and once, while sipping coffee on the porch, her father quietly said, "You saw something in him long before I did. I'm sorry it took me so long." Emily simply smiled. One spring afternoon, Emily and Daniel were invited to a neighborhood gathering hosted by a former schoolmate of hers, someone from her old world. Expensive cars lined the driveway, and laughter floated over the hedges like champagne bubbles as they entered the house. Emily noticed the way people paused. Whispers followed her, polite now, no longer mocking. Someone asked, "Is that Daniel? The one with the garage that went viral?" A man in a tailored suit approached him with curiosity. "I've heard of you. My brother says you saved his car for half the price," the dealership quoted. Daniel shook his hand, gracious but unaffected. Later, a woman leaned toward Emily and whispered, "You always did things differently, but you picked the right one." Emily just nodded. She didn't need validation anymore. But it felt good to be seen without judgment. On their 7th anniversary, Emily found an old notebook tucked in a box in the attic. It was one of hers from the year they got married. Inside, scribbled in pencil, was a letter she had never given to Daniel. "If they laugh at us, let them. Because when we build something with love, it may not be big, but it will be real. One day they'll see. But even if they don't, we'll know that we chose, right?" She brought it downstairs and handed it to him. As he read it, his eyes softened. "You were always the brave one," he said. "No," she replied. "I just loved you loud enough to drown out their laughter." When their daughter turned 6, Emily brought her to the same garden where she and Daniel had said their vows. The arch was gone now, the plastic chairs replaced by trimmed hedges and benches. But the memory remained. "This is where I married your dad," Emily said. Her daughter looked up. "Were there lots of people?" "Really?" she smiled. "But the people who mattered came later." Daniel joined them moments later, holding a small bouquet of fresh flowers. "For the bride," he joked. Their daughter giggled. And they sat under the tree where their wedding had ended in kisses and promises. Even years later, people still talked. They laughed when she married a poor man, they'd say. Thought she lost everything. But Emily knew the truth. She hadn't lost a thing. She had gained a partner, a home, a family, and a life richer than money could measure. She had traded luxury for loyalty, flash for foundation, and expectation for experience. And when people asked her if she regretted not marrying up, she just smiled and said, "I didn't marry up. One married right."